Welcome to the 2020 Dignity for All Students Act Overview Module. Since its inception in 2012, the Dignity for All Students Act, or DASA, has guided school districts in creating policies, regulations, and procedures for responding to and reporting alleged incidents of bullying, harassment, and discrimination. Throughout the years that DASA has been in place, and with the annual mandated awareness trainings, an understanding of the intent, key terms, staff response, and informational requirements of DASA should come as second nature to all staff. Our role as educators and as the building or district Dignity Act coordinator is to ensure that the opportunities and benefits of an education for all students includes the creation of a positive school climate. The objectives of this module include an overview of the legislative intent of the DASA law, understanding the language of DASA, recent amendments to DASA, and the importance of the Dignity Act coordinator contact information within your district. Bullying, harassment, and discrimination pose a serious threat to all students, including but not limited to students targeted because of their actual or perceived race, color, weight, national origin, ethnic group, religion, religious practice, disability, sexual orientation, gender, or sex. The language in DASA considers members of these groups as the protected classes. It is important to note, however, that the protections under DASA cover every student within a school district, regardless of whether they are a member of one of the 11 protected classes. Establishing and sustaining a school environment free from harassment, bullying, and discrimination should involve an examination of the school's climate and culture. School climate and culture have a profound impact on student achievement, their behaviors, their attitudes, and their beliefs. School climate may be defined as the quality and character of school life. It may be based on patterns of school communities' personal experiences within the school and reflects norms, goals, values, interpersonal relationships, teaching and learning practices, and organizational structures within a school building or the school district. Bullying, harassment, and discrimination can interfere with a student's ability to concentrate and possibly fear for their emotional or physical safety. Students should never be afraid to attend school, ride a school bus, participate in extracurricular activities, or be able to function to meet the high academic standards set by each district. The harm caused by bullying, harassment, and discrimination work to undermine the mission of the school and can have a profound impact on all members of the school community. The aggressive actions of bullying, harassment, and discrimination are societal issues that manifest themselves in school through the daily interactions between students and staff. Working together to identify and eliminate the cycle of aggression will help students become productive members of their community, both in and out of school. The role we play in our schools as educators and specifically as Dignity Act coordinators is to embody the mission statement of each district, work to create and maintain a positive school climate, support the social-emotional health of the school community through classroom lessons and opportunities for growth, and work as agents of change, as role models, consistent in our approach and empathetic in our response. Bullying, harassment, and discrimination are issues whose impact crosses all geographical and societal boundaries. It can occur in urban, suburban, and rural communities alike, especially within a school environment. Statistics on the prevalence of bullying may vary across studies, but most estimate that between 20 to 30% of school-age students experience bullying, both face-to-face and online through electronic communication. The emotional impact on both the bullies and the targets in a school environment may include higher levels of depression and anxiety, behavioral problems, issues with academic achievement, and poor relationships with their peers, more so than students not involved in bullying. What is especially troubling is that both the targets and the bully may be at a higher risk for self-harm and suicide than youth who are not affected by bullying. DASA requires schools to, among other things, report data on bullying incidents to the State Education Department, incorporate a curriculum that includes character education and lessons on civility and diversity, to review and revise codes of conduct in order to promote a bully-free environment, create a procedure for reporting alleged acts of bullying, including an incident reporting form, and appoint a Dignity Act coordinator to be responsible for investigating and documenting alleged incidents of bullying within the respective buildings and within the school district. The federal government began collecting data on school bullying in 2005, when the prevalence of bullying was about 28%. Since that time, and with the inception of DASA, schools are now required to adequately address incidents of bullying, harassment, and discrimination, and not be indifferent to the effects on both the school community and the school climate. Some points to note: that students who experience bullying report the supportive actions from their peers, such as spending time with the student, talking to them, helping them get away, or giving them advice, were the most helpful actions of the bystanders. Students need not be the targets of bullying to experience the negative outcomes. Observing bullying is associated with adverse mental health outcomes. If bullying behaviors are ignored or tolerated by any member of the school community, the impact on both the student and the climate of the school can be felt by all. Take this time now to discuss and reflect on the following questions. Are bullying behaviors in your district or in your building minimized as a normal right of childhood, or is it recognized as a harmful peer abuse that it is? Does the school community understand that uninterrupted severe bullying can confer lifelong negative consequences on targets, bullies, and the witnesses? What steps have you taken as a school leader to promote a positive school climate? And as educators, how are we promoting empathy within our students? Do we work to build and strengthen relationships within all members of the school community? Do we value our students' feelings? For consistency, the language of the Dignity Act defines harassment and bullying as the creation of a hostile environment by conduct or by threats, intimidation, or abuse, including cyberbullying, that either has or would have the effect of unreasonably and substantially interfering with a student's educational performance, opportunities, or benefits, and or mental, emotional, and or physical well-being, including conduct, threats, intimidation, or abuse that reasonably causes or would reasonably be expected to cause emotional harm, or reasonably causes or would reasonably be expected to cause physical injury to a student, or cause a student to fear for their physical safety. Threats, intimidation, or abuse shall include both verbal and nonverbal actions. Emotional harm that takes place in the context of harassment, bullying, or cyberbullying means harm to a student's emotional well-being through the creation of a hostile school environment that is so severe or pervasive as to unreasonably and substantially interfere with the student's education. Bullying is different from normal conflict. Whereas with normal conflict in which both parties may come to an agreement to resolve the situation, bullying involves an imbalance of power, with abuse of power being the primary distinction between bullying and other forms of aggression. Power could manifest itself in many forms. It can be relational or social, where rumors or gossip can be spread about someone both in person or through electronic communication, or when a person or a group is ostracized and marginalized. It can be verbal and involve teasing, taunting, or intimidation. Or it can be physical, with actions such as tripping, pushing or shoving someone, or damaging and or stealing someone's personal belongings. Bullying is also intentional. It is not accidental. It is planned and carried out either by one aggressor or a group against one or multiple targets. And bullying is oftentimes repeated throughout the school day, the school year, throughout a building, on a school bus, or at a school function. Cyberbullying occurs through electronic communications and can have a negative impact on both the students as well as the climate of the school, even though those instances may have occurred off school property and on a student's own time. While many school districts may be learning remotely, students are spending more time on their electronic devices and may have limited exposure to the district or building Dignity Act coordinator, presenting new challenges for school districts as well as the Dignity Act coordinator. Take some time to pause this presentation and think about the following questions. How has the process for contacting your Dignity Act coordinator changed during the pandemic as students may be learning remotely? How can your students report DASA incidents while learning remotely? Are your students aware of what supports are available if they are the target of cyberbullying while they are learning remotely? And are there any modifications or amendments to the District Code of Conduct or other policies and regulations to address online learning and protocols for behavior when learning remotely? When a report of bullying, harassment, or discrimination is submitted to the Dignity Act coordinator, an investigation should begin promptly to confirm that the incident reported was a material incident of bullying, harassment, or discrimination. A material incident of bullying, harassment, or discrimination is a verified incident or a series of related verified incidents where the student is subjected to harassment, bullying, or discrimination by another student or school district employee. The Board of Regents acted to amend DASA regulations to include examples of types of incidents of harassment, bullying, or discrimination to be reported and investigated as possible violations of DASA. The amendment is intended to provide further clarification to school administrators, employees, and students on the types of incidents of harassment, bullying, and discrimination to be reported to administrators and investigated by the School Dignity Act coordinator. According to the Board of Regents Chancellor Betty A. Rosa, school administrators, educators, and staff work day in and day out to ensure all children feel welcome and included at school. While the federal government is repealing the rights of our transgender students, New York will not waver in its commitment to protect transgender and all students from bullying, harassment, and discrimination. We hope school leaders will use these examples to help illustrate for all school employees the types of unacceptable incidents that must be reported and investigated. Examples include a report regarding the denial of access to school facilities, functions, opportunities, or programs, including but not limited to restrooms, changing rooms, locker rooms, and/or field trips. A report regarding application of a dress code, specific grooming or appearance standards. A report regarding the use of names and pronouns or the pronunciation of names. Or a report regarding any other form of harassment, bullying, and/or discrimination. Effective July of 2019, Section 11 of the Education Law was amended to read that race, for the purposes of this article, include traits historically associated with race, including but not limited to hair texture and protective hairstyles. Protective hairstyles can be defined and shall include, but not limited to, such hairstyles such as braids, locks, and twists. Because schools are sometimes the main or only source of information and access to help, visual in-school access to Dignity Act coordinator contact information is critically important. When this information is not readily available, students seeking help are less likely to know who to contact or how to contact them, which can diminish the effectiveness of a school's efforts to prevent and address bullying, harassment, and discrimination. As such, regulations require that the name and contact information for the Dignity Act coordinator be posted in highly visible areas of the school building, made available at district and school level administrative offices, and shared with the parents and guardians of students within the school community. A 2017 audit for the Dignity for All Students Act found that although DASA has been in effect for 5 years, many schools were still not providing the contact information for the Dignity Act coordinator to the school community, as referenced in this slide. Additional resources to assist school districts and the Dignity Act coordinator with information about the Dignity Act can be found at the New York State Center for School Safety, the New York State Education Department, and guidance documents, such as a resource and promising practices for school administrators and faculty. This concludes the overview of the Dignity for All Students Act. I want to thank you for your work as a Dignity Act coordinator in your district and for helping promote and maintain a positive school climate within your building. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact the OHM BOCES Safety Office at 315-793-8693.